Preliminary sub-study lists some of the inauspicious omens noticed by Yudhishthir Maharaj. 2 to 5, 11 to 20. We saw that the direction of eternal time had changed, and this was very fearful. There were disruptions in the seasonal regularities. The people in general had become very greedy, angry, and deceitful. And we saw that they were adopting foul means of livelihood. All ordinary transactions and dealings became polluted with cheating, even between friends. And in familial affairs, there was always misunderstanding between fathers, mothers, and sons, between well-wishers and between brothers, even between husband and wives. There was always strain and quarrel. In the course of time, it came to pass that people in general became accustomed to greed, anger, pride, etc. Maharaj Yudhishthir, observing all these omens, spoke to his younger brother. The left side of my body, my thighs, arms, and eyes are all quivering. Yeah. But this is not a short answer question. Left side of my body, my thighs, arms, and eyes are all quivering again and again. I'm having heart palpitations due to fear. All this indicates undesirable happenings. Just see, O Bhima, how the she-jackal cries at the rising sun and vomits fire, and how the dog barks at me fearlessly. O Bhimasena, tiger amongst men. Now useful animals like cows are passing me on my left side, and lower animals like the asses are circumambulating me. My horses appear to weep upon seeing me. Just see, this pigeon is like a messenger of death. The shrieks of the owls and the rival crows make my heart tremble. It appears that they want to make a void of the whole universe. Just see how the smoke encircles the sky. It appears that the earth and mountains are throbbing. Just hear the cloudless thunder and see the bolts from the blue. The wind blows violently, blasting dust everywhere and creating darkness. Clouds are raining everywhere with bloody disasters. The rays of the sun are declining, and the stars appear to be fighting amongst themselves. Confused living entities appear to be ablaze and weeping. Rivers, tributaries, ponds, reservoirs, and the mind are all perturbed. Butter no longer ignites fire. What is this extraordinary time? What is going to happen? The calves do not suck the teats of the cows, nor do the cows give milk. They're standing, crying, tears in their eyes, and the bulls take no pleasure in the pasturing grounds. The deities seem to be crying in the temple, lamenting and perspiring. They seem about to leave. All the cities, villages, towns, gardens, mines, and hermitages are now devoid of beauty and bereft of all happiness. I do not know what sort of calamities are now awaiting us. Why was Arjuna sent to Dwaraka 6, 7, 8? Maharaj Yudhishthira said to his younger brother Bhimasena, I sent Arjuna to Dwaraka to meet his friends and to learn from the personality of God Krishna of his program of work. That's all. It must be that only. How does Srila Prabhupada show that success requires the Lord's sanction? 9. If one could achieve success without the sanction of the Lord, then no medical practitioner would fail to cure a patient. Despite the most advanced treatment of a suffering patient by the most up-to-date medical practitioner, there is death. And even in the most hopeless case, without medical treatment, the patient is cured astonishingly. Therefore, the conclusion is that God's sanction is the immediate cause of all happenings, good or bad. Four, when the left side of one's body quivers constantly, what does this indicate? When a man's left eye, arms, and thigh all quiver constantly, one must know that something is going to happen which is undesirable. Five, why is Balaram mentioned as a protector of devotees? 29. See, Ram or Balaram is protector of the devotees of the Lord. Baladev acts as the spiritual master of all devotees, and only by his causeless mercy are the fallen souls delivered. Sri Baladev appeared as Sri Nityananda Prabhu during the advent of Lord Chaitanya, and the great Lord Nityananda Prabhu exhibited his causeless mercy by delivering a pair of extremely fallen souls, namely Jagai and Madhai. Therefore, it is particularly mentioned here in that Balaram is the protector of the devotees of the Lord. 6. How many family members did Lord Krishna have in Dwaraka? 31. Lord Krishna married 16,108 wives, and each of them had 10 sons. Therefore, 16,108 times 10 equals 161,080 sons. They all grew up, and each of them had as many sons as their father. And then with great grandsons, the whole aggregate was something near 10 million family members of the Lord. 7. What two necessities are required for a society to prosper? 34. Without co-protection and cultivation of the Brahminical qualities in human society, at least for a section of the members of society, no human civilization can prosper at any length. 8. Why didn't Yudhishthira Maharaj inquire about Lord Krishna's welfare? 34. Since the Lord is all perfect in himself, there could not be any question of his welfare, and Maharaj Yudhishthira refrained from asking this question. 9. What general principles can be drawn from the Yadu's assembly house in Dwaraka? 38. General principles and all, like understanding question, no? The state assembly house is constructed according to the dignity of the particular state. In the heavenly planets, the state assembly house called Sudharma was deserving of the dignity of the best of the demigods. Such an assembly house is never meant for any state on the earthly globe because the human beings on the earth are unable to construct it, however far a particular state may be materially advanced. What else do we need to say? But during the time of Lord Krishna's presence on the earth, the members of the Yadu family forcibly brought the celestial assembly house to earth and placed it at Dwarka. They were able to use such force because they were certain of the indulgence and protection of the Supreme Lord Krishna. In other words, the Lord is provided with the best things in the universe by his pure devotees. Okay, that much you can say. 10. List some of Yudhishthira's suggested reasons for Arjuna's rejection. 40, 41, 42, 43. Has someone addressed you with unfriendly words or threatened you? Could you not give charity to one who asked? Or could you not keep your promise to someone? You're always a protector of the deserving living beings such as brahmanas, children, cows, women, and the diseased. Could you not give them protection when they approached you for shelter? Have you contacted a woman of impeachable character? Or have you not properly treated a deserving woman? Or have you been defeated on the way by someone who is inferior to you? Have you not taken care of old men and boys who deserve to dine with you? Have you left them and taken your meals alone? Have you committed some unpardonable mistake which is considered to be abominable? 11. Which citizens specifically require the protection of the state? 41. Brahmanas, who are always engaged in researching knowledge for the society's welfare, both materially and spiritually, deserve the protection of the king in all respects. Similarly, the children of the state, the cow, the diseased person, the woman, and the old man specifically require the protection of the state or a Kshatriya king. 12. What is Uttama and Adhama? 42. Contact of a Brahmana with a Kshatriya woman is Uttama, but the contact of a Kshatriya with a Brahmana woman is Adhama and therefore condemned. 13. Explain why Bhishma Dev's defeating him was not an insult for Arjuna. 42. Arjuna was defeated with Bhishma Dev and Lord Krishna saved him from the danger. This was not an insult for Arjuna because Bhishma Dev was far superior to Arjuna in all ways, namely age, respect, and strength. But Karna was equal to Arjuna, and therefore Arjuna was in crisis when fighting with Karna. It was felt by Arjuna, and therefore Karna was killed even by crooked means. Such are the engagements of the Kshatriyas, and Maharaj Yudhishthira inquired from his brother. Okay, that's all. 14. The neglect of what prescribed duty of a householder is unpardonable. It is a duty of a householder to first feed, first of all, the children, the old members of the family, the brahmanas, and the invalids. Besides that, an ideal householder is required to call for any unknown hungry man to come and dine before he himself goes to take his meal. He is required to call for such a hungry man rice on the road. The neglect of this prescribed duty of a householder, especially in the matter of the old men and children, is unpardonable. Analogies. Therefore, okay, 114.2 purport. Therefore, during the personal presence of the Lord on the earth, all paraphernalia for our peace and prosperity, especially religion and knowledge, were in full display because of the Lord's presence, just as there is a full flood of light in the presence of the glowing sun. This dependence of the liberated soul is constant. Okay, 1:14:33 purport. This dependence of the liberated soul is constitutional, for the liberated souls are like sparks of a fire that are able to exhibit the glow of fire along with the fire and not independently. 1:14:34 purport. A society devoid of cow protection and Brahminical culture is not under the direct protection of the Lord, just as the prisoners in the jails are not under the protection of the king, but under the protection of a severe agent of the king. 1:14:38 purport. A forgetful conditioned soul is fearful, but a liberated soul is never fearful. Just as a small child completely dependent on the mercy of his father is never fearful of anyone. 38 purport. Fearfulness is a sort of illusion for the living being when he is in slumber and forgetting his eternal relation with the Lord. A person may be fearful of a tiger in a dream, but another man who is awake by his side sees no tiger there. The tiger is a myth for both of them, namely the person dreaming and person awake, because actually there is no tiger. But the man forgetful of his awakened life is fearful, whereas a man who has not forgotten his position is not at all fearful. Okay, first I'll complete all these questions and then we'll come to discussion topics. The learning objectives, I think we should do it on, wait, what is that? See clearly. On one of these buffer days we should do. Yes. Learning objective. I want the students to speak, but we'll allot it ahead of time. So there is no sudden surprise. But for these learning objectives, it's just on the spot. You should be able to speak it out. It should not be difficult. So very, very brief, these ones. Chapter 15, the Pandavas retired timely. One. Lists some ways the Lord perfected his mood of friendship with Arjuna for the Lord's dealings with Arjuna are displays of friendship of the highest perfect order. He was not only a well-wisher of Arjuna, but actually a benefactor. And to make it still more perfect, the Lord tied him into a family relationship by arranging Subhadra's marriage with him. And above all, the Lord agreed to become the chariot driver of Arjuna in order to protect his friend from warfare risks. And the Lord became actually happy when he established the Pandavas to rule over the world. Arjuna remember, okay, these are ways by which actually he didn't perfect his mode of friendship, but he displayed the perfection of his mode of friendship with Arjuna. Two, why did the Lord withdraw Arjuna's special powers? The power and energy which were bestowed upon Arjuna were required for fulfillment of the mission of the Lord. But when his mission was fulfilled, the emergency powers were withdrawn from Arjuna because the astounding powers of Arjuna, which were astonishing, even to the denizens of heaven, were no longer required and they were not meant for going back home, back to Godhead. 3. List examples of the lords showing favor to Arjuna and the Pandavas. 7 to 18. This is also too long. We need to have an answer behind. We need to have an answer behind. It should be based on verifiable principles. Short answer means this many words, minimum, maximum. The answer we should make sure is that at least next round we should make sure there's something doable. Only by merciful strength was I able to vanquish all the lusty princes assembled at the palace of King Drupada for the selection of the bridegroom. With my bow and arrow, I could pierce the fish target and thereby gain the hand of Draupadi. Because he was near me, it was possible for me to conquer with great dexterity the powerful king of heaven, Indradev, along with his demigod associates, and thus enable the fire god to devastate the Khandava forest. And only by his grace was a demon named Maya saved from the blazing Khandava forest, and thus we could build our assembly house of wonderful architectural workmanship, where all the princes assembled during the performance of Rajasvi Yajna and paid due tributes. Your respectable younger brother, who possesses the strength of 10,000 elephants, killed by his grace Jarasandha, whose feet were worshipped by many kings. These kings had been brought for sacrifice in Jarasandha's Mahabhairava Yajna, but they were thus released. Later, they paid tribute to your majesty. It was he only who loosened the hair of all the wives of the miscreants, who dared open the cluster of your queen's hair, which had been nicely dressed and sanctified for the great Rajasuya sacrificial ceremony. At that time, she fell down at the feet of Lord Krishna with tears in her eyes. During our exile, Durvasa Muni, who eats with his 10,000 disciples, intrigued with our enemies to put us in dangerous trouble. At that time, he, Lord Krishna, simply by accepting the remnants of food, saved us. By his accepting food thus, the assembly of Munis, while bathing in the river, felt sumptuously fed, and all the three worlds were also satisfied. It was by his influence only that in a fight I was able to astonish the personality of God, Lord Shiva, and his wife, the daughter of Mount Himalaya. Thus he, Lord Shiva, became pleased with me and awarded me his own weapon. Other demigods also delivered their respective weapons to me. And in addition, I was able to reach the heavenly planets in this present body and was allowed a half-elevated seat. When I stayed for some days as a guest in the heavenly planets, all the heavenly demigods, including King Indradev, took shelter of my arms, which were marked with the Gandiva bow, to kill the demons named Nivata Kavachas. Should be like this. O king, descendant of Ajamedha, at the present moment, and bereft of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by whose influence I was so powerful. The military strength of the Kauravas was like an ocean in which there dwelled many invincible existences, and thus it was insurmountable. But because of his friendship, I, seated on the chariot, was able to cross over it, and only by his grace was I able to regain the cows and also collect by force many helmets of the kings, which were bedecked with jewels that were sources of all brilliance. It was he only who withdrew the duration of life from everyone, and who, in the battlefield, withdrew the speculative power and strength of enthusiasm from the great military phalanx made by the Kauravas, headed by Bhishma, Karna, Drona, Shalya, etc. Their arrangement was expert and more than adequate, but he, Lord Shri Krishna, while going forward, did all this. Great generals like Bhishma, Drona, Karna, Purushrava, Susharma, Shalya, Jayadratha, and Bahlika all directed their invincible weapons against me, but by his, that is Lord Krishna's grace, they could not even touch a hair on my head. Similarly, Prahlad Maharaj, the supreme devotee of Lord Nrsimhadev, was unaffected by the weapons the demons used against him. It was by his mercy only that my enemies neglected to kill me when I descended from my chariot to get water for my thirsty horses. And it was due to my lack of esteem for my Lord that I dared to engage him as my chariot driver, for he is worshipped and offered services by the best men to attain salvation. O King, his uh, poking his jokings and frank talks were pleasing and beautifully decorated with smiles. His addresses unto me as, O son of Pritha, O friend, O son of the Kuru dynasty, and all such heartiness are now remembered by me, and thus I am overwhelmed. 4. Explain how the cowherd men were able to defeat Arjuna. 20. The important point in this verse is how it was possible that Arjuna could be defeated by a gang of ignoble cowherd men, and how such mundane cowherd men could touch the bodies of the wives of Lord Krishna, who were under the protection of Arjuna. The Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur has justified the contradiction by researching the Vishnu Purana and Brahma Purana. In these Puranas, it is stated, it is said that once the fair denizens of heaven pleased Ashtavakra Muni by their service and were blessed by the Muni to have the Supreme Lord as their husband. Ashtavakra Muni was curved in 8 joints of his body, and thus he used to move in a peculiar curved manner. The daughters of the demigods could not check their laughter upon seeing the movements of the Muni, and the Muni being angry at them, cursed them that they would be kidnapped by rogues even though they would get the Lord as their husband. One reason why the Puranas talk these kind of things is to point out that there are adhidaivic reasons for different events that take place in our lives. It is not just adhibhautik reasons. Adhibhautik reasons are reasons we can trace in this very life. Adhidaivic reasons are reasons that come about from the past. Later on, the girls again satisfied the Muni by their prayers, and the Muni blessed them that they would regain their husband even after being kidnapped by the rogues. So this shows that if we please spiritually exalted souls, they can solve problems caused by adhidaivic events also. Burned to ashes, nor cut to pieces, nor is he dead or unconscious at any stage of his magical demonstration. Similarly, the Lord has his eternal forms of unlimited variety, of which the fish incarnation, as was exhibited within this universe, is also one. 9. How can one neutralize the effects of Kali? 36. One can neutralize the effects of Kali by keeping oneself fully under the supreme care of the personality of Godhead. 10. Explain what lessons can be drawn from Maharaj Yudhishthira's retirement. My God, how we are supposed to? Let me first of all see if the answer is in the translations. One minute. This is unit 5. Yes. I'm canceling that question. 11. That means it will not appear in the assessments. 11. Why was the king of Hastinapur accepted as the emperor of the world? 38. The only reason is that the people of the world were happy because of the good administration of the emperor. The happiness of the citizens was due to the ample production of natural produce such as grains, fruits, milk, herbs, valuable stones, minerals, and everything else that the people needed. 12. Explain the difference between the Pandavas and Vidura. 49. The difference between the Pandavas and Vidura is that the Pandavas are eternal associates of the Lord, the personality of Godhead, whereas Vidura is one of the administrative demigods in charge of the Pitraloka planet and is known as Yamaraj. Analogies. 21. Purport. All electrical energies are received from the powerhouse, and as soon as the powerhouse stops supplying energy, the bulbs are of no use. In a moment's time, such energies can be generated or withdrawn by the supreme will of the Lord. 21. Purport. Material civilization without the blessing of the Lord is child's play only. As long as the parents allow the child to play, it is all right. As soon as the parents withdraw, the child has to stop. 32. Purport. He is like the sun. The sun appears and disappears on its own accord at any place without disturbing the presence in other places. 50. Purport. When flying an airplane, one cannot take care of other planes. Everyone has to take care of his own plane. And if there's any danger, no other plane can help another in that condition. Similarly, at the end of life, when one has to go back home, back to Godhead, everyone has to take care of himself without help rendered by another. 15. Discussion topic 16. How King Parikshit received the age of Kali. List 3 characteristics of a king's advisors. Right. There is something here. If Achutaram Dhruv had a question.
Prabhuji, Vidurji he does not participate every time in Krishna's pastimes.
I
Means
think there is a Vidura in Krishna Lila always, but that is reserved for Yamaraj, whoever is holding the Yamaraj post.
so in that way he should be eternal associate also. He should be.
No, but that particular individual, Yamaraj is being a post, different
Oh,
Jivatmas occupy that post.
okay. Okay. So the Yamaraj Mahajan, that means that individual will is not a Mahajan. The post is Mahajan.
Looks like. Or is it only about this particular kalpa? That is not very clear to me. But in the Shruti also, Yamaraj is considered to be a knower of dharma. It's considered to be omniscient about how to attain liberation. That indicates that there is something in these demigod posts. Unless one is sufficiently spiritually mature, one is not awarded these posts of demigods. Even though the lower scriptures, they present the demigods as the greatest devotees, but that is in terms of birth. In terms of birth, they are superior devotees. But in terms of actual guna karma, a human being may be a greater devotee. But there is something about the birth of a demigod also. Because unless you are so obedient to Lord Vishnu, you are not given that birth. You are not given that post. Once you take up that post, then you may go up or go down. That's a different thing. But it is being awarded that post has a meaning also. Similarly, being born as a Daitya, Danava, Asura, it is all because of one's aversion to Lord Vishnu. Now, it may happen that the Daitya, Danava, Asura may surrender to Lord Krishna. He may surrender to Lord Vishnu. That is considered an exception. There is something about the demigods also. Brihad Bhagavatamrita by Sanatana Goswami also presents the demigods as, in general, they are greater devotees than human devotees. Even in humans, the Chakravarti is considered the greatest amongst the human beings. The Upanishads give a gradation like that. The happiness of there is Ananda Mimamsa, Ananda Taratamya, Taittiriya Upanishad. What are the different levels of happiness? And the happiness, the highest possible extent of happiness that can be experienced by a human being is considered 1 unit of happiness. Then several times that unit is the happiness of, I think, a Chakravarti, one who has full control over the earth. Then higher than that is the happiness of Gandharvas, and like that it goes on until it comes to Brahma, and then higher than that is the happiness of the supreme absolute truth, Brahman, meaning Paramatma or Bhagavan, whose happiness is unlimited. So somewhere along that line, higher than Chakravarti, somewhere along that line, the Devas come in also. There is some relationship. It is not just, you know, it is not just that the Devas are non-devotees like the Asuras. It's not like that. They're pious, materialistic in the same sense, but they're pious. They accept Vedic authority. They're obedient. Of course, the Asuras, Danavas, Daityas, I'm talking about the celestial beings. They also accept Vedic authority. In that sense, they're also pious. But more than that, the Devas, they are obedient to Lord Vishnu. They understand Sambandha. They understand this.
And
There is something about it.
bro, in previous chapter 14th one, when Yudhishthir Maharaj is asking about Arjuna why he is dejected, and one reason comes that he has not taken care of old men and children. So, like I was extrapolating this point of taking care of children, like abortion, that is also, that comes under not taking care of children.
Yeah, that's a Bhru Hatya. It's considered a very terrible sin.
So if suppose like a person of modern times, he says that some unwanted incident has happened with a girl, forcefully she is made pregnant, and then what should she do? If he
Why can't she give society should first of all arrange for these girls to give birth to those children. This is a social issue. Society is shaming these girls. Even if the girl by desire had done this, okay, whatever happened, the child should not be killed. That is the first priority. Shaming the girl or whatever you want to, that is all, can be considered later. But first of all, the child should be alive. Child should not be killed. The child should not be killed, first of all.
even
So,
if the girl is raped.
so what is the girl's problem then? Then she is even more innocent. Therefore, the child should be, there should be arrangement for her to give birth to the child, and the child should be taken care of by society.
Mhm.
What is wrong with it? What did the child do wrong that the child has to be killed? Because the child's mother was raped. There's no logic in this.
People may say that her future is spoiled and who no one
That's why
will
I'm
marry
saying the
her.
society should mature up. The society is talking so much about taking care of transgender,
Mhm.
homosexuals, all this. Why not take care of these rape victims also? Why not take care of the children of the rape victims also? Okay, we'll continue. Yeah. List three characteristics of a king's advisors. They did not accept any salary, nor had they any necessity for such a salary. Okay, so that is one. They were themselves samardarshi, equal to everyone, both man and animal. That is number two. They were all self-realized souls, and they knew perfectly well how all living beings in the state would be happy both in this life and in the next. That is number three. Three includes they were not concerned with the hedonistic philosophy of eat, drink, be merry, and enjoy. They were philosophers in the real sense, and they knew well what is the mission of human life. Question two. List symptoms of the age of Kali. 4, 10, 19, 20, 21, 22. Let me look at 19, 20, 21, 22. 19, 20, 21, 22 is fine. At least there is some. Wait, let me also make a note. 19 to 20%. Okay. 19 to 20% of for question number 2. Now need 4 and 10. Okay, these are the symptoms of the age of Kali. The earth is not hale and hearty. The earth is covered with the shadow of grief. Suffering from some internal diseases, thinking of relatives who are away in a distant place. Dharma has lost 3 legs. Dharma standing on one only, truthfulness. The earth laments for Dharma's state of existence. The unlawful meat eaters will exploit the earth. Demigods are now bereft of their share of sacrificial offerings because no sacrifices are being performed. Living entities will suffer due to famine and drought. Women and children will be unhappy because they will be left forlorn by unscrupulous persons. The earth will be unhappy because the goddess of learning will be handled by Brahmanas addicted to acts against the principles of religion. Brahmanas take shelter of administrative families that do not respect Brahminical culture. The so-called administrators, they put all state affairs into disorder. The general populace does not follow the rules and regulations for eating, sleeping, drinking, mating, etc. And they're inclined to perform such anywhere and everywhere. Question 3. Explain the connection between Brahminical culture and cow protection. 4 and 15. Explain the connection between Brahminical culture and cow protection. Human civilization means to advance the cause of Brahminical culture and to maintain it, cow protection is essential. There is a miracle in milk, for it contains all the necessary vitamins to sustain human physiological conditions for higher achievements. Brahminical culture can advance only when man is educated to develop the quality of goodness, and for this, there is a prime necessity of food prepared with milk, fruits, and grains. Oh, the bull and the cow can be protected for the good of all human society simply by the spreading of Brahminical culture as the topmost perfection of all cultural affairs. By advancement of such culture, the morale of society is properly maintained, and so peace and prosperity are also attained without extraneous effort. When Brahminical culture deteriorates, the cow and bull are mistreated. 4. Why is it said that Lord Krishna has lotus feet? The spiritual planet Goloka Vrindavan, the eternal abode of Lord Krishna, is shaped like the world of a lotus flower. Even when the Lord descends to any one of the mundane planets, he does so by manifesting his own abode as it is. Thus, his feet remain always on the same big world of the lotus flower. His feet are also as beautiful as the lotus flower. Therefore, it is said that Lord Krishna has lotus feet. Two reasons. 5. What is the surest remedy for avoiding death? The surest remedy for avoiding death is to accustom oneself to hearing the nectarian pastimes of the Lord as they are systematically narrated in the text of Srimad Bhagavatam. 6. Describe the difference between welcome addresses today and in Vedic times. 13, 14, 15. This will definitely be in the purport only. The difference between the presentation of welcome addresses today and those days is that formerly the welcome addresses were presented to a person like Maharaj Parikshit. The welcome addresses were full of facts and figures, and those who presented such addresses were sufficiently rewarded. Whereas in the present days, the welcome addresses are presented not always with factual statements, but to please the post holder, and often they are full of flattering lies. And rarely are those who present such welcome addresses rewarded by the poor receiver. 7. What do the bull and cow symbolize? 18. The bull is the emblem of the moral principle, and the cow is a representative of the earth. 8. Give 2 reasons why offering sacrifice is recommended in the scriptures. 20. Performance of sacrifice is essential for persons who are materially engaged in something. So this performance of sacrifice is nothing but pious activities. Pious activities are essential for those who are materially engaged in sense enjoyment. Okay, 2 reasons. First reason is this. It's too long. This material world is a sort of prison house. The demigods are the servants of the Lord who see to the proper upkeep of the prison house. These demigods want to see that the rebellious living beings who want to survive faithlessly are gradually turned towards the supreme power of the Lord. Therefore, the system of offering sacrifice is recommended in the scriptures. Second reason, the materialistic men want to work hard and enjoy fruitive results for sense enjoyment. Thus, they are committing many types of sins at every step of life. Those, however, who are consciously engaged in the devotion service of the Lord are transcendental to all varieties of sin and virtue. Their activities are free from the contamination of the 3 modes of material nature. For the devotees, there is no need for performance of prescribed sacrifices because the very life of the devotee is a symbol of sacrifice. But persons who are engaged in fruitive activities for sense enjoyment must perform the prescribed sacrifices because that is the only means to get free from the reactions of all sins committed by fruitive workers. Sacrifice is the means of counteracting such accumulated sins. 9. Why were the earth's feelings of separations more acute than those of the Lord's queens? 35. There were chances of separation between the Lord and his thousands of queens because of the Lord's being absent from home. But as far as his connection with the earth was concerned, the Lord would traverse the earth with his lotus feet, and therefore there was no chance of separation. When the Lord left the surface of the earth to return to his spiritual abode, the earth's feelings of separations were therefore more acute. Analogies. 3. Purport. The kings used to spend lavishly during such sacrifices. As a cloud distributes rains, a cloud is nothing but another form of water, or in other words, the waters of the earth transform into clouds. Similarly, the charity made by the kings in such sacrifices are but another form of the taxes collected from the citizens. 10. Purport. In the rainy season, rain is predestined, and yet people take precautions to protect themselves. Similarly, in the age of Kali, the symptoms, as above mentioned, are sure to infiltrate into social life, but it is the duty of the state to save the citizens from the association of the agents of the age of Kali. 20. Purport. Demigods are pleased when such sacrifices are performed, just as prison officers are satisfied when the prisoners are turned into obedient subjects. This overview, I like it actually. Nicely written. Maybe I'll read out. We don't have time now. Okay, 17. Punishment and reward of Kali. Identify the principal signs of the age of Kali. That's the first question. Question 2. What is the meaning of Praja? 10. Uh, 10. There's no 10. There's 10 and 11. Praja. Praja means one who has taken birth in the state, and this includes both men and animals. 3. What is the prime duty of the state? 14. Okay, just a minute. I just remembered something. What is the prime duty of the state? 14. Prime duty of the king or the executive head to give protection in all respects to the peaceful, offenseless citizens of the state. The devotees of the Lord are by nature peaceful and offenseless, and therefore it is a prime duty of the state to arrange to convert everyone to become a devotee of the Lord. 4. Explain the concept of apadharma. 16. In the scriptures, there is mention of apadharma or occupational duty at times of extraordinary happenings. It is said that sometimes the great sage Vishwamitra had to live on the flesh of dogs in some extraordinary dangerous position. In cases of emergency, one may be allowed to live on the flesh of animals of all description. No, that's all. So, occupational duty at times of extraordinary happenings. This kind of question, all these explanation questions, they should not actually come in the knowledge portion. Anyway, in cases of emergency, one may be allowed to live on the flesh of animals of all description, but that does not mean that there should be regular slaughterhouses to feed the animal eaters, and that this system should be encouraged by the state. No one should try to live on flesh in ordinary times simply for the sake of the palate. If anyone does so, the king or the executive head should punish him for gross enjoyment. 5. Describe the devotee's attitude toward suffering. 19. According to the Padma Purana, our present trouble is due to the fructifying of seedling sins. But even those seedling sins also gradually fade away by execution of pure devotion service. Thus, even if the devotees see the mischief mongers, they do not accuse them for the sufferings inflicted. They take it for granted that the mischief monger is made to act by some indirect cause, and therefore they tolerate the sufferings, thinking them to be God given in small doses, for otherwise the sufferings should have been greater. 6. List the 4 principles of religion in English and Sanskrit. 24. Tapashaucham daya satyam. Austerity, cleanliness, mercy, truthfulness. 7. List the activities that destroy the principles of religion. 24 to 25 and 38. In the age of Satya, truthfulness, your 4 legs were established by the 4 principles of austerity, cleanliness, mercy, and truthfulness. But it appears that 3 of your legs are broken due to rampant irreligion in the form of pride, lust for women, and intoxication. Truthfulness, flourishing but deceit, is also trying to, but quarrel personified. flourishing by deceit, is also trying to destroy that life. 38. Places where gambling, drinking, prostitution, animal slaughter are performed. That is also included. The basic principles of religiosity, such as pride, prostitution, intoxication, and falsehood, counteract the four principles of religion, namely austerity, cleanliness, mercy, and truthfulness. 8. What should be the state's attitude toward religion? 32. The principles of religion, namely austerity, cleanliness, mercy, and truthfulness, as we have already discussed, may be followed by the follower of any faith. There's no need to turn from Hindu to Mohammedan or from Mohammedan to Christian or to some other faith and thus become a renegade and not follow the principles of religion. The Bhagavatam religion urges following the principles of religion. The principles of religion are not the dogmas or regulative principles of a certain faith. Such regulative principles may be different in terms of the time and place concerned. One has to see whether the aims of religion have been achieved. Sticking to the dogmas and formulas without attaining the real principles is not good. A secular state may be impartial to any particular type of faith, but the state cannot be indifferent to the principles of religion as above mentioned. That was the one. Correct. 9. Where did Kali receive permission to reside? 38 and 39. Maharaj Parikshit is being petitioned by the personality of Kali, gave him permission to reside in places where gambling, drinking, prostitution, and animal slaughter were performed. The personality of Kali asking for something more, and because of his begging, the personality of Kali asked for something more, and because of his begging, the king gave him permission to live where there is gold, because wherever there is gold, there is also falsity, intoxication, lust, envy, and enmity. 10. Why do the scriptures allow meat eating and intoxication? 38. In the Vedas, two different types of injunctions are there. One type for the pravrittas, or those who are engaged in material enjoyment, and another type for the nivrittas, or those who are engaged in becoming liberated from material bondage. The Vedic injunction for the pravrittas is to gradually regulate their activities towards the path of liberation. Therefore, for those who are in the lower stage of ignorance and who indulge in wine, women, and flesh, drinking by performing Sautramani Yagya, association of women by marriage, and flesh eating by sacrifices are sometimes recommended. Such recommendations in the Vedic literature are meant for a particular class of men and not for all. But because they are injunctions of the Vedas for particular types of persons, such activities by the Pravritas are not considered adharma. One man's food may be poison for others. Similarly, what is recommended for those in the mode of ignorance may be poison for those in the mode of goodness. Srila Jiva Goswami Prabhu therefore affirms that recommendations in the scriptures for a certain class of men are never to be considered adharma or irreligious, but such activities are factually adharma and they are never to be encouraged. From the spiritual perspective, they are adharma. From the material perspective, they are dharma. The recommendations in the scriptures are not meant for the encouragement of such adharma, but for regulating the necessary adharma towards the path of dharma. So there are activities which are from the spiritual and material perspective adharma. There are activities which are materially dharma but spiritually adharma. And then there are activities which are spiritually and materially dharma. In other words, dharma means prescribed. There are activities which are prescribed for spiritual realization and which automatically bring about material welfare also. This is Bhagavata Dharma. Then there are activities which bring about material welfare, but which do not lead to spiritual realization as such by themselves. This is Varna Dharma, Ashrama Dharma, Sri Dharma. Then there are activities which neither give spiritual realization by themselves, nor do they lead to material welfare. This is adharma. Analogies. 10 to 11 purport. When there is some disturbance caused by wild animals in a village or town, the police or others take action to kill them. Similarly, it's the duty of the government to kill at once all bad social elements such as thieves, dacoits, and murderers. 24 purport. Moths are captivated by the glaring brightness of light, and thus they become prey to the fire. Similarly, the deluding energy is always captivating the conditioned souls to become prey to the fire of delusion. 17. It's 8:55, 8:54. We'll stop with this. We'll resume in the next session. Okay. Vancha Kapatarvya Shri Pasan Vipyo Vachapatitanam Bhavane Vipyo Vaishnav Vipyo Namo Namaha.